So I got this tailgate here and I need to deal with this rust on the bottom, and also it's quite dented on this section, as you can kind of see. And the inner structure here is also rotted, so I'm gonna have to deal with that. Getting closer so we can see the So now you can see that it's separated. Now we can see what nasty business we have to deal with. Got to take a bit more off here. Doesn't take much. See inside, that's what we have to deal with. So we're gonna have to rebuild this section, get some measurements. You see, that's the this is what we have to measure to, is this, because that's what this bit was bent around, right? Because this here bent around that to there. So this part is good, so we can take a measurement off this. And there is a bit of a lip here we'll have to replicate, because we're probably going to have to cut all the way into here to get to some good metal. So we'll have to put that little lip on there. So yeah, that's going to be the next thing. So, taking our measurement, cutting this out, welding a new piece in. Probably do one piece. Probably do half a section at a time, and then we'll have to clean this up and see how bad this is. We might have to do this part, but that'd be easy enough to cut out if we have to. And then this is our, then we'll have to make a new one of these, obviously longer with a bend in it. So yeah, we've got some work to do here. So
time to get cracking.
There she is.
Good job.
Now that it's cut out, I feel like I can make some progress. Okay, so just so we have some good reference points here, I just measured in 3 different spots and marked it on the tailgate. So I went from here, here, and here, and scribed a little mark, wrote it down. 12 millimeters, or sorry, 12 centimeters.
Got the tape measure out there? I think I need to see if my biceps got bigger out of my workout this morning.
The assistant needs to check his arms here since we've got the measuring tape.
1 second, see if we got that right. Small little guys there.
This is usually why I don't have the camera running all the time, so I won't say
50,
what the
50.
measurement is,
Okay.
but okay.
No comparison there.
Maybe I'll have to check mine later, but what I decided to do is I'm going to leave these corner pieces because I might end up doing a bit more work up here later, because I think there's a bit of rust hiding under here, at least on the other side for sure. I can start seeing paint up here, so this side's actually pretty good. But I'm going to leave this corner as a reference point, I think, and do that later. And then so right now I'm going to cut this strip out. Oh geez, look at that. I'm going to cut this out here.
Making a mess.
I've got to give something for the apprentice to do here. So Yeah, I'll cut this piece out, probably halfway up, and then I'll do this as 2 sections. I guess I could do 1 long piece.
Do you have to do anything about this part that's a little bit bent down?
I'm just gonna leave that. I think that's. I'll check it. It might be okay, but I have my other truck outside we can look at. But the angle looks, yeah, it might need a little bit of a tap, but anyways, I'm gonna cut this out. I think here. So okay.
Get to it. Get
Enough
cracking.
talking. More work. So this part here was damaged previously. You can see it actually was, the spot weld was ripped away from here. So I'm going to get this basically hammered back in place, and then I'll probably re-drill the hole here to redo this weld. And then I decided to do a shorter piece here, so then I have a reference point here and a reference point there. And then I'll cut this piece, and I think I'm going to try my bead roller out, because there's this little lip here. And I tested out a bunch of the rollers a little while ago to see kind of the profiles I can do. So anyways, we're going to tackle this here with a hammer and a dolly, I think. So we cut this piece out. I decided to leave this in and this corner in, so then I have a reference point. And then I scribed this edge to follow this edge. And then there is a bit of a lip in this piece. So you can see the lip in here that we put in. And the reason the lip's there is because when the skin on the other side is going to come around and fit into that little groove. So you can see here where the step is, kind of, and then this is the skin, and then the skin kind of sits in that little recess. So anyways, after messing around with the bead roller and spacing out the rollers, we got it so it matches pretty darn good. So I'm going to clean this up enough to get it tacked in place, and then we'll start working on the next section. So we got this piece in place here. Of course, the trickiest part about the whole thing is ensuring it has a perfect fit before you tack it in place. So I'm going to use my finger there to make sure it's flush, and then tack it in, and then try and get the rest of it in place. Take a look at the little tacky there. That's nice and flush there, so we'll work our way along here. Now this part here, we're gonna have to bend it up a little bit, get it perfect. This is what takes time. People that hire you to do this kind of work, they have no idea how long this takes to do properly. And they can't understand why it takes 30, 40, 50 hours to do something. This is why. If we're trying to do a good job and get the fitment perfect, it takes time. So this is going to have to be tweaked a little bit here. All right, so we've got this lower section finished. It's flipped around here. This part doesn't need to be ground down as it will not be seen. And there is a rust spot right here I'm going to deal with next. And I'm going to cut this corner out because it's a little too rotten for my liking. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Okie dokie. So, just to show you guys what happened here, just in summary, cut this skin off the tailgate. This is the outer skin. And then the inner lip pieces are these guys here. There's two of them. Anyways, not much to see there except a bunch of nasty rust. So coming back over here, I've got the intersection done. What I ended up doing to get this, I don't know if you can see this little lip here, the little step, is I ran it through my bead roller. I just got to finish cleaning up these corners here. I welded in a new piece of steel. And then my hope is today to cut out the skin. Now, because I am always trying to save money, I have this sheet metal here. It's not the correct length, and I do want to use my homemade metal brake. So the plan is I can actually do two pieces in this, which will be slightly longer than the tailgate, and then I'll just weld them together. Otherwise, I need to go into town to get another piece of sheet metal, and then I would have to. I mean, it's not a big deal. I could bend it over the edge of my workbench, and not use this. But anyways, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use what we got, and I made this little piece the other day here. So what I'm gonna do, this is about 3/16 of an inch long here. Now, I'm going to try this technique, which I learned on Fitzy's channel, Fitzy Fabrication. What he likes to do is bend the lip over first, rather than bending a 90 and then hammering it in place. So I'm going to cut my steel out so it's a little bit longer than this here, so I have some room to play with. And then this will go over top. Well, that's not the best spot. This will go over here like this. I'll tap it into place. Of course, my angle won't quite be exactly like that. I need to make sure it comes this way. And then this will get tapped in. And then it's a little crooked there. And then I'm going to have to drill some little 1/4-inch holes to do some little plug welds to try and replicate how they did it from the factory. Because you can see here, right on the edge, there's the little plug welds, the spot welds from the factory. So that's going to be the approach. Before I weld this piece, the skin on, I do want to take the sandblaster and clean up any rust in here while it's open. It's not too bad, actually. It's just, a couple little spots here and there. And then probably apply a coating of Ospo to it, let it sit for a few days, epoxy primer over this, epoxy primer over the skin piece, the patch, and then get it welded together. So it's kind of a long process. And I did wrap this hole up the other day here. There was that rust spot there, so I can almost see myself in it, mirror finish almost. So anyways, that's kind of my thinking here, plan of attack. And I do need to drill these drain holes into the bottom here. I got a donor or a spare tailgate here, which was given to me. So these drain holes I'm going to drill as well before I do the skin. So I'll get those all done, and yeah, My goal today is to make the skin and at least test fit it, and then try and get this sandblasted, so see how things go. All right, making some progress. Got the holes drilled for the drainage, the bottom. Now my metal brake couldn't bend this 18 gauge. So what I ended up doing is taking it apart and then just hitting this edge with a hammer until I bent it all the way up. And then I'm going to basically put a spacer strip underneath this edge and then keep hammering it all the way down. So that's essentially the process I'm using, and probably don't need to see me hammering for an hour. So I'll show you my progress in a minute. So there's half of it. I'm reasonably happy with it, considering I had to bash it with a hammer for half an hour. But it fits over pretty good. So I'm going to make the other half, and then up here I left some excess on purpose, so I can trim this off, this part off after. So we'll make this section now. So I was mistaken. My brake can bend the metal, but I goofed up on the other one. I wasn't thinking, and I did the short side. I did the short side here. So I didn't have the leverage I needed. And that was the problem. So yeah, I can do a 90. This piece is a little shorter, but so yeah, now I'm going to flip this around, and then I'll hammer the short end down into a flange. And yeah, this one's going a lot faster because I realized my mistake. All right, so this one is hammered over. I just used a body hammer, gear wrench, and to speed things up, I thought, why not use an air hammer? So I used this air hammer here. Now this bit doesn't have a really nice smooth radius on it, so that was another little mistake there, but it left some marks in the flange. I should be able to smooth most of those out. At the end of the day, no one's really going to see it, but yeah, don't use an air hammer or anything with a sharp edge because it'll leave dents in your metal. And I knew that, but I kind of wanted to try it anyway, so there you go. Learn from my mistakes. And just in case I didn't mention it before, I just am using a piece of 18 gauge as the spacer here, so I get the correct gap, and I just have it clamped to the table with some simple C-clamps. Okay, so this one here, I wasn't happy with the original lip, so I remade it, and luckily I just had enough steel so I didn't have to cut a brand new piece. This will work once I kind of tap it into place here. I folded the edge over on each of these on the ends, and I have just the right gap in the middle here to weld that up. And here's the end piece here. I'll just flip this over and show you what the other side. Here it is flipped over. Basically cut a notch out. Did the 45 thingamajigger. I can explain that later if you guys want. And yeah, I got a wider flange here now, which I like. It's a little bit better. I will have to drill some holes in this, but that lines up nicely. Got my drain holes there. Coming along to this side. Did another 45 here on the end. And I'll just weld this up and put a nice little radius on it after. Clean this up. And yeah, I think that's about as far as I'm going to get right now. So yeah, that's pretty good progress for today. Okie dokie, we're back at it here. So I've got the patch panels made up, holes drilled, epoxy primed. I've got OSFO on this. I sandblasted the inside where there was some surface rust, you can see. OSFO'd that, let it sit for about, that's over 36 hours now. And now I'm going to epoxy prime the inside. I have used weld through primer in the past, but I found it just scratches off really easy. And this epoxy primer I'm using, it holds up really well to the heat. So that's what I'm going to use. So we're just going to get this all sprayed up, and then hopefully I can get these panels lined up and tacked in place today. Finally got this tailgate finished. It's not perfect by any means, but it is now rust free. This end here is quite good, as you can see. Now where I ran into some problems was on this end. There was some damage here, and I didn't really notice it until after I got this skin on. But you know, it's all a learning experience. I decided to weld these holes up where the four-wheel drive emblem goes as well, because as you can see, there's already some rust just starting there. So basically what I do is I just grind these off, and I'll just mount it with double-sided tape after. So yeah, that's it. I did fix this hole several months ago. There was some rust starting around there, and there's some OSFO on there, which is what that weird discoloration is. Overall, fairly happy with this, as it is my first skin replacement attempt. I did this in 2 sections because I just didn't feel like running to a place to get the long piece of metal bent. So I bent one section, and then I bent the other section, and then I welded them together in the middle. Didn't turn out too bad. I had to kind of cut this and lift it back up and weld it back together again. The other side was rebuilt. I'll just flip this over so you guys can see. So the intersection I had rebuilt, and I think I have another video on that, but it was basically rotten down to about this area, and you can't really tell where I blended in the new piece. Drilled in new drain holes, and I tried to replicate the factory spot welds, and up here folded it over nicely, and then kind of transitioned it so it looks like it's from the factory. Same thing on this side. Now what I did to get my measurements exact was I used this bolt on the side as a reference, and I just have to grab my measuring tape here. Here we are. So what I did is I took this tailgate, which doesn't have any damage, and I put the bolt in the top, and then I ran the tape down to the edge here. I'll show you on this one. So basically I use this as a reference for both sides, and I went right to the end here like this, and I basically got what is that? Oh, it's not quite in the right position there. That's better. So it's a 1/16, basically 3/16 under 12, just pretty much exactly. And then this side here, you can see, oops. Basically 3/16 under 12. And then if I go back to this one here, you would see it's the same. So yeah, I mean, it's from far away it'll look fine, but yeah, there's no rust on it now. I'll sandblast any of this surface rust underneath off here, and I might get myself a spot weld, or not a spot weld, but what do they call those things? A uni spotter to pull out little dents here, kind of play around with that. I'm no master by any means, but pretty happy with that and constantly learning, and happy with this as my first attempt. So anyways, I know I didn't really provide any instructional information on how to do this, but there you go. So even though I spent countless hours fixing the tailgate, there was a lot more bodywork that had to be done to make it fairly perfect, I guess. Dents were pulled as much as possible, and then body filler was applied. Anyways, no matter how well you do your metal work, at least for me, what I've learned is you still need to do a bit of filler work. The idea is to minimize the amount of filler work. You want the absolute least amount of filler possible. Anyways, so this is a photo of the tailgate basically ready for primer. And then in the next photo, you will see the tailgate in the paint booth with primer applied to it. And there it is. So hopefully you found this video useful in some way. If you did, please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. And we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.